Hi guys, today we are going to discuss about controllers in Laravel. Controllers are the essential part of any MVC framework. It controls the request and group the related logic in one file. For example, if you have a post controller, then you can have the logic to create, show, edit, update, and delete in that controller. So let's understand it with an example. So first of all, how can we create a controller in Laravel? There are two ways. Uh, you can create a file in app, HTTP, and under the controllers folder and its subfolders. Okay, or the the other ways, the easier ways, there is a command. If you uh, run the command php artisan, okay, then you can see here make controller command, this one. So using this command you can create the controller very easily. Let's say demo controller. Okay, I think I have created it already, so let's delete it first. Okay. And now run it. Okay, controller created successfully. So you can check under the controllers folder, the demo controller has been created, and it has no action right now. Okay, you can create the controller with an action with action, or you can create an empty controller. So if you run without the resource keyword, then it will create the blank controller, empty controller without action. Okay, and if you want to create a controller with an action of with the CRUD actions, then you can use this one. So let's delete it first. And now resource. Okay, with this flag it will create a controller with the CRUD actions, and you can see here it has an index, create, store, show, edit, update, and destroy. Okay. For this type of controllers, you can define the route easily in the route file. So let's define the routes for this resource controller .php. Okay. With the resource keyword, and you need to define your path. Okay, and demo controller like this, just only this, and now you can access. So let's change our controller action to make it return something. Return demo index. Okay, like this. So now the server is running, and demo index. Okay, in the resource controller, with the resource root, if you want to add some additional actions, like let's say I want to define some additional action. Okay, then it will not be accessible by default. If you run the demo custom, then it won't return anything you. So let's define the root for this. Let's say get. Okay, like this, and now access it. It is still not working because in resource controller, if you want to add some additional action, so you need to define the uh, additional load before declaring the resource root for that controller, like this. I have defined the root for the my custom action in the resource controller, and then define the resource. Okay, like this. And if we access now, it is working. Okay, custom action. So like this, you can define. Okay, there are some other variants also to create a controller, or you can say the flags. If you want to create a controller, let's say demo 2 with the model, with the model you want to work in that, means the model you want to update, create, etc. Currently it has an ID because we hadn't passed any model. Okay, so there is a model flag also in that. Let's say model user. Okay, like this. And now if we create controller created successfully, so let's check it out. You can see now the user. Okay, so users, edit user, update user. Okay, so you can attach the model to the controller when it is being created. The other flag I want to show you, with the API. Okay, so let's if you want to create a controller in subfolder, then just define here with the double backslash. The double backslash is used for to escaping the backslash. Okay, and the API is a folder, so it will be created. It will create a folder under the controllers folder, and in that API folder, it will create a demo2 controller. Okay, so let's create it. I have created already. Then demo API. Let's say okay. Now enter. So if you refresh, you can see here there is a API folder been created, and in that folder we have a demo API controller. The difference of the impact of using the API flag, it has only the actions which are only required to for the API. You don't have the actions like which has required the HTML like for the create. Okay, and like edit. Okay, you need a form, then it won't have such actions. That's the only difference using this flag. Okay, so in our routing video, I have mentioned we can use the middleware like this. If we want to use the middleware on custom action, then we can use the auth middleware like this. If you have more than one, then you can pass it in array like this. Okay, and now if we access this, actually we haven't configured the auth middleware, so it is throwing the exception. Okay, so I'm not going to configure it. I will make a separate video for the authentication configuration. Okay, so like this you can use the middleware in the root, but if you want to, you can also use it in under the inside the controller. So let's say under the construction function. Okay, like this let's close the okay middleware, and just pass the middleware name auth. Okay, it is still not accessible. Okay, because it is passing through the auth and auth is not configured. But here we have several other extended functionality only. With the only, it will apply on those action which will have declared here. Like I want this middleware will be applied only when we access the index. So let's say index. Okay, now our custom action will be work. Okay, custom action is working, but if we access the index, then it will pass through the auth. Okay, we have also accept function. So using the accept function, it will only apply the action except the defined one. Okay, except index, it will apply on all the actions. Like now index will be working, and if you use the custom, it won't. Okay, like this. Sometimes we are required to filter out the request, but uh, don't want to create a class or middleware or something. So we can use its closer version, this middleware. Okay, like this, and in this, uh, just find the closer function. Okay, this closure function will act as a middleware. So middleware has two parameter. The first one is the request, and the second one is the next. Next is used to forward the request to the uh, further processing. Okay, like if we define the middleware, it will have a handle function. So it's a handler for this middleware. So we need to use that template, otherwise the incoming request won't be processed. Okay, like this. And if we hear die dump, then say cached. Okay, cached. Okay, you can still use the only and except here, except custom, like this. Okay, so let's comment it out. I want to show you one more thing. If your route has some dependency injection, let's say request, but you won't have to define the request class here. You can still access the request object using the uh, request helper function or the request facade. But I want to demonstrate you some different thing. So let's say it's a request, okay, and if we tie dump here the request object and now access this custom action, okay, it shows you the request object. Now if our action has some parameter like id, okay, and we need to pass here id is working. But if you want to access that parameter, then you just need to pass it here after all the dependency injections you have made. Like I have made the request class here injected, and after that you can pass it the id, the name parameter, and you can pass it here like this. Okay, cool. So okay, the other thing I want to share that every routes you define, every path you have defined, uh, if you have created the controller under directly under the controllers folder, then you can directly mention it here like this. Okay, if you have a controller in other namespace under the sub namespace, like I have a demo API controller under the API folder, okay, then if you want to access this, then you need to define the namespace for that in root, your root, like root get, and let's say API test, okay, and for this I need to define here the namespace, sorry, single, and the controller API controller demo API controller, sorry, like this. You need to define the namespace here, or you can define the namespace if you have a grouped routes like this, then you can define like this one, okay, you can define the namespace like this also, so keep it in mind. Okay, one last thing I want to share with you, that sometimes our controllers have a uh, very big code base. So, but we need to consider that uh, uh, we just make the controller to make it very slim. Try to make it very slim and divide the logic in our logic in in our several controllers in separately. So your code base will be more maintainable. Okay. One last thing I want to show you, PHP artisan. Okay. Mhm. Something is not working. Okay. There is some problem on routes. Okay, routes. Okay. There are these three commands I want to show you. The first one is the route list. Okay, it lists all the registered routes. If you have uh, declared the route resource here, then you can list down separately here. Okay, and check if it is working or not. The second one is the route cache. Okay, the route cache will only work for the controller action routes. It will not work for the closer routes. Like if you have defined like this kind of route, then it will not work. Okay, and if you cache the route and add the new route, then you have to clear the route first. Then it will generate the new cache file for you. Okay, the root cache is very fast and you must use it. Okay, I just uh, I just remember one more thing. Uh, there is a special type of controller also, invocable controller. Invocable controller has only one action, and you don't need to define action in the root file. So let's understand it with the help of example. PHP artisan make controller demo invoke like this. Okay, and invoke supposed to invocable. The controller has been created successfully. Let's check it out. What is in that controller? Refresh demo invoke. So it has a underscore invoke function. Okay, and let's return something. And if you want to define the root for this, then just and just define the demo invoke here. Okay, like this. You don't need to define the invoke action. It's a special kind of controller in the Laravel, and it has only one action. And if you want to test it, test invoke like this. Okay, this is invocable controller, and okay, I'm done. That's all for the today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much.